Hello, welcome, dear friends, to another video tutorial on HiTek Studio software, which is about high-tech HMIs. We want to talk about alarms and see how to activate alarms in high-tech HMIs and what settings to apply. I'll go into HiTek Studio software and get to know this part better. Well, we brought the project that we had done before together, this Siemens system. We wanted to find an alarm for this project so that, for example, if the amount of water inside our tank exceeds a certain amount, the alarm that we set in the software will be activated. Give us an alarm, connect an output, or completely shut down the system. The alarm that we wanted to find for this system says that if, for example, my tank exceeds 80%, it should warn me. To turn off my pumps, it should give me an alarm. To activate the alarm in HiTek Studio software, we want to activate the alarm either through this toolbar or through the System Setting tab, Alarm Event. We click on it. Well, a page opens for us here. Well, it says to choose the group related to the alarms here. How many groups do you want to have? For each group, you can define a new alarm, several alarms. Well, here I have 64 groups, meaning you can define 64 different alarm groups in HiTek Studio software. I want to create group number 1. Well, what kind of alarms does group number 1 include? I press the right button, I specify its condition here. The address related to my tank, I put a word, a general word register. I give the address MW. Okay, I do. Well, what condition should my MW have for the alarm to be activated? I put it to be greater than or equal to 80 for the alarm to be activated. I click OK. What text should it display for me when my MW exceeds 80? For example, here I write tank is full, for example, to tell me that your tank is full. I click OK. I click OK on this too. I want a separate page to open for me when the alarm goes off. I create a new page through Window, Create New Window. I also give the window a background setting. For example, I make its color green. I click OK. You see that another page opens for me. Well, let's see in the System Setting and Alarm section. Well, the alarm that I set is that if my MW is greater than or equal to 80, the content should display tank is full to me and warn me. I create another one. The address related to my pump number 1 was LB0. If LB0 is off, it should warn me that your pump is off. I click OK on this too. I set its condition that if LB0 is off, it should give me a warning. What warning should it give? The binary status of pump number 1 is off, so its text should be pump 1 off. If LB0 is off in the off state, this, okay, I also go to page number 2. I want it to be displayed. I also go to the list. Okay, you could do this work here. You could also do it through the toolbar of the software itself. Okay, update manufacturer. Okay, on gun. Okay, correct. Activate it. This new bit of yours should be hacked. All the records that have been made, all the pushes that have been given, which are in the table, should be checked and activated. This bit is completely cleared. We set its address as LB102, so LB102 is for clearing the records. meaning it clears my entire table in one tab, this event count. We can assign some addresses so that we can know how many of those errors that we defined in our project and in our software are currently active. For this example, let's look at the report, Total Event Count. Here, we can assign an address. For example, I set it to LVD22. In LVD22, it shows me how many of these errors that I defined are present. They have been active from the beginning up to now. So, this way, it brings up the total number of errors that we defined here, right in the LVD22 address. But the first report is the current events count. That means the number of errors that have happened up to now. For this example, if the LVD I have and the errors I have happened 5 times, then in the address I selected for my current report, which is LVD21, it will be displayed there. So, the total number of errors is shown at address LVD21, and the number of errors of the type we defined here is shown at address LVD22. Now, if I want to clear the number of errors that have occurred, I can also assign a single bit to this. I've set it to address LVD 100. So, address LVD 100 clears the number of errors. Address LVD 102 can completely clear the record table for us. Alright, I click OK. I go to the Components tab. I click on List. I select Alarm Event. A page opens up for me. So, on this page, I need to define for it which parts my table should get data from. I select one row for it so that my table has just one row. Date of alarming event. It should show me the date of the alarm that happened in this table. Time of alarming. It should show me the time of the alarm that happened. Then, here I also put it in the alarm category. In the alarming event history, I set it so it doesn't get lost. So, I select a row for it. Then, further down, I specify a date and a time for it in my table. I want it to have a time as well. Also, show me one that displays the content we defined there, like, for example, if the value goes above 80, what should be displayed? I want it to show that in my table too. This is the confirmation line from the system to see whether this error has been confirmed or not, or if it's been seen or not. Pay attention to that for it. The error source date, at what time the error occurred, should also be shown in my table, along with the date it happened, and also the resolved source time, when this error was resolved, and also the confirmation date, when this error was seen. On what date was it seen, and also the confirmation time. At what time and hour did the operator observe the error? Now, about the confirmation mode, how should it work? Should it confirm when you click on the error once, so it knows the operator has seen the error, or should it require a double click, or maybe press and hold? For me, just a single click to mark it as seen is enough. What should the confirmation color be? I chose blue as the color, okay? And then further down it asks what the confirmation should look like. Also, if an error occurs and the alarming status is disabled, what color should that be? And it says, let the color be red, and just like that, here confirm the alarming cycle. And also it says, even for 1 second, let it be billing for me, meaning it should blink, that's okay. It says, make a table for me, open the table for me, make it bigger. It says make all the font in my table bigger. And okay, I set the font to 25. Okay, it says set the font for the rest of the things that need to be displayed in the table, like what time the event happened, what kind of alarm it is. And I set it to, for example, 25. Okay, this table, it says make it bigger. It says everything I defined should be shown in my table. For example, the row should be there, the description of the alarming. Show me the time of the alarm, show me the date, show me the time, what error happened, show me its content. Tell me whether the operator has confirmed and seen it or not. The time and date when the error was resolved, when it happened, and other things. The form should have a scroll bar at the bottom. I enable this option. It says at the bottom, it gives me a scroll bar. Okay, other settings, I increase the spacing between the columns a bit, the spacing of each column. Okay, there are no other special settings. So I brought the errors into one page. Now I click on this table again. I go to the alarm event part. Okay, I define the errors here. I define the alarms here. For me to display the alarms that happened only on page 2, I need to set it in the triggering section in the pop-up window so that it opens on page 2 if an error occurs and the value goes above 80. Where should the table open? On page 2. And here there is an option for automatically close pop-up so that when restoring, when the error is resolved, it automatically closes page 2 and goes back to the main page. I enable this for error 1 for the LBS form related to the pump, which I have, which has an alarm defined for it, and I do the same for the pop-up window. I want page 2 to open for me when an error occurs, and automatically, if my error is resolved, the error page closes and returns to the main page. I enable this. There are no other special settings. Now on page 2, I gave some addresses so I can see how many errors have occurred, and so I can clear my table of the errors that have happened. What addresses were there? I go to my alarm. I gave address LB102 so I can clear my table of the errors that are displayed. So 1LB102, 1LB100 for clearing the errors that have happened, and the VW addresses so that either I can see the total number of errors that have happened so far. So I go to page 2, I add 2 buttons, I set their address to LB100, okay? And here I write a label for clearing, clear count, meaning to clear the number of errors. Okay, if I want, I can make the font bigger. Now, I add another button, address LB102, for clearing the records in my table. I set its address to LB102 and label it clear record. So, this one is for clearing the error count. This one is for clearing the table records. And I set their addresses. Okay, this is LB102 and this is LB100. I also set VW21 and VW22 addresses for the total number of errors that we defined and the total system errors from the beginning up to now. I bring 2 numeric inputs, set their address to VW21, copy one, set the other to VW22, and make their font bigger so they are visible. The address is VW22, and I make its font bigger too. This is for the error count. Okay, up to here, we have set up our table, defined our errors. I copy these two, so I have them on page 2 as well, because physically the operator doesn't have to open and close to check the errors. And I also bring the start button for pump 1 from page 1. Okay, now I run my system, apply simulation. As soon as I run my system, it should give me an alert. And for page 2, which I have defined, since at the beginning when I apply simulation, my pump 1 is off, I have defined that whenever pump 1 is off, it should give me an alarm. Okay, I apply simulation. I wait for the page to open. Okay, now the page opens for me. It gives me an alarm. What alarm? It says pump 1 is off. At date 12/8/25, time 4:27, this alarm happened. It says it hasn't been confirmed or restored yet. The operator hasn't seen it, and the error hasn't been resolved. Okay, I confirm it, meaning the operator has seen it. It shows me in blue, as I said in the settings. When confirmed, it turns blue. In the confirmed data, the date and time should be set. It says 4:28. The operator saw and confirmed it. For the error to be resolved, my pump needs to be activated. Here, you see, it writes the number of errors for me. It says one of the errors you defined has happened, and the number of errors, one of the errors has been resolved. The operator closed the error page and it returned to the main page. Okay, now my system is running. Another error, as soon as the value goes above 80, my system should give another error because I had said in the alarms that if the value goes above 80, open page 2 for me. Okay, now as soon as it goes above 80, you see two errors are created for me. Why? Because in my settings, I had set that if the value goes above 80, my pump turns off. So one error is for the pump being off and one error is for the tank being full. You see, both the date and time are written. The total number of errors that have happened so far is 3, and the number of errors from the alarms we defined, both have happened. Okay, now if I want to clear the error count using this button, you see, as soon as I press clear count, the number of errors that had happened is cleared. If I press clear record, my table is completely cleared, meaning no records are saved here anymore. I press clear record, you see all the errors that were recorded in the table are cleared here. So here we got familiar with the errors, the alarms that we can set in the HMI software, what alarms we can have when they occur, how to know the number of alarms, and how to clear the alarms. We also learned that we can set up to 844 different groups for alarms, and each can have different alarms. Thank you for your time.